we need to accelerate it. You must have heard of the Nathdwara temple in Rajasthan. Now, Nathdwara temple in Rajasthan, when I was Chief Justice in Rajasthan, talking of that period, 87 to 89, 86 to 89, you see, there was a gentleman who filed, and those days PILs had started, but they were not so frequent as that. There was one Surya Narayan Chaudhary. He was, an elderly gentleman. Of course, he was also dabbling in politics, but one of those politicians who was, a genuine worker. So he filed an application to point out that the Dalits were not permitted entry in the Nathdwara temple, and you see, probably some people raised a voice. There was one PL Mimroth who was also fighting for that cause. So just to cover up, the concerned authorities, what they started doing was, they would permit entry after purification. You and I could go. But if a Dalit went, he had to be purified with Ganga Jal and Tulsi Dal, and then also there was only show, and then he was only permitted a few steps, but not where everyone else could go, which was clear discrimination. And after untouchability has been abolished on paper by Article 17 of the Constitution, and the general articles of 14, 15, etc. being there. So we stepped in and made an order to ensure that on Gandhi Jayanti, 2nd October, I remember that order I had made on, I think, 28th or 29th September, directing the SP and the Chief Secretary to personally, ensure that. That started. But I was pained to hear that, because it was done very unwillingly by people, we said that the concerned authorities will be personally held responsible to ensure compliance without discrimination, so that they will go just like everyone else. If there is restriction, it should be for everyone. If there is no restriction, it can't be, everyone has to be free. But I am told once again, most grudgingly, now why this retrograde step? I think we have to ask ourselves. Now everyone, I would put it this way, everyone not subjected to discrimination and going to that temple. What stops him from saying that if you don't permit my friend also to come this way, I am not coming? But we are failing to do our duty. What could be done? I am talking of doable things. Because you don't have to depend on the government for this. You also know about the Durban conference, which was held on the question of whether this should come under racial discrimination or not. The Government of India's stand, I was then the chairman and HRC. Government of India's stand was, it does not. And therefore, they opposed the taking of this Dalit issue in the Durban conference. Now, I thought, I am against any intervention from outside the country, but I am all for doing everything which needs to be done within the country by us, because we must protect our sovereignty by not letting others govern us. But we must do the right thing so that there is no need for outside intervention. So actually, I prepared a draft to justify the discussion of this issue also on this ground. I said, Article 1 of that convention said, there the word descent, D-E-S-C-E-N-T, was inserted at the instance of India in Article 1 of the Constitution, which once you have that word, then the Dalit issue clearly comes in. Apart from that, In India, Article 15, apart from 14, and also 17, which prohibits untouchability. I mean, it is very clear that you. Now, whether it comes within the meaning of race or not is taken care of by the word descent. So, I said, why should it not be discussed? Discussed for the purpose of people telling us whether anything more than what we are trying to do. Laws are enacted, of course they are not being fully implemented, as otherwise these examples would not be there, which he has given. I have told you about Nathdwara temple, etc. So tell us how we can perform better. Why should we hesitate in doing that? And if they tell us something which we are not doing, let us do it. I called the union minister concerned, Jaswant Singh was the minister. I told him, you take your stand, but before you do that, please read this statement. This is going to be read on behalf, at variance with the stand of the Government of India. NHRC is taking this stand. So you better know it, so that you can, if you want, modify your stand. And if nothing else, I told him, you can save face by saying that even though we don't take this stand which the NHRC is taken, but we have NHRC in our country. Now tell us, which is that country where an organization, you see, a constitutional or statutory body within the country tells the government concerned that what you are doing is wrong. So you can at least save face. And what I did, even though it was an important conference, mind you, I'm not, please don't consider me immodest that I'm trying to talk about myself. I'm telling you what can be done. These are examples to indicate what you can do within your means. So this was an unusual situation that in an international conference, an Indian body taking a stand from a public platform contrary to the stand of the Government of India. But we did that. And then to give the message, that important conference where I was supposed to go as chairman, I decided not to go. I nominated Justice Ramaswamy, K. Ramaswamy, who, as all of you know, is a Dalit himself. I called him, I said, I am nominating you. You go, and this statement has to be read out by you. Now he was so touched, he said, Chief, you must go. He was my judge in the court also. I said, I'll tell you the reason later on, but I am not going. You are going. Don't do anything else, just read this statement. I sent him. The reports which I got from Viren Dayal, who was one of the members, and he was a former Under Secretary General in the United Nations, I sent him along because he was a former diplomat, and so he would be able to attend to other things. He said after Ramaswamy read out that stand and indicated, you see, I mean, people wanted and literally carried them on their shoulders. And the minister, our minister, Umar Abdullah, had gone, the minister, he was hooted. And now, this is an example only to indicate, and mind you, that earned so much of credibility for the NHRC. So much of credibility for the NHRC. I mean, I remember, and I think many people here might even know, even though we had a minorities commission, but incidents which happened in Gujarat, Don Dayal, etc., and the bishop there actually, they came in a delegation to think. You're talking of burial. Probably you were talking of burial. I got information one day that at some place, some Christian who had died and he was not being permitted burial, he was being opposed by some caste Hindus. I got that information in the evening just when I was leaving the office. I made an order and asked Secretary General, he was also a fine man, you see, Gopal, who was later on the Chief Election Commissioner also, to convey to the Chief Secretary and DGP there. I said, tomorrow morning when I come to the office, if I don't get information that the state has taken all requisite measures to see a decent burial according to their Christian rites, if I don't get this information at 10:30 tomorrow morning, well, the state government would be in trouble. And next morning, compliance was reported to me before I came to the court. Now, I mean, these are things what is needed. But then there was someone, you see, who had sent this information from there. Otherwise, I would not know. What would I know? There was some aware and concerned citizen who had sent this information, which enabled me to act. Now, what is therefore needed is greater participation of the people to ensure that you don't, because to suffer, you see, injustice and do nothing, I think each one of us is equally guilty. So there are some positives. Let's not be very cynical to think that things are not happening. Now, environment. Now, environment, certainly, a lot needs to be done. I mean, I remember we were students at a railway station while traveling in train. One would get down at the platform and drink water straight from the tap. And now even at home, we have RO machine, and every household spends so much money for getting safe drinking water, which would be sufficient for the entire family's food budget many years earlier. I don't remember when I last drank water in the last 25 years, which was not from bottled water or from an RO machine. Now it's a shame that we can't have that. Simply having these things as Millennium Development Goal are not going to help. But things are happening. You see, Article 21 has been read along with Article 48A to compel the government to preserve the environment, etc. But then the citizenship corresponding duty in Article 51, capital A, clause G, is the same. So it's not that we citizens don't. So Article 21, right to life with dignity, has been read into 21. How? And Delhi atmosphere, environment was so bad. I remember, many years back, before we started that forest matter and so many other things, and that T.N. Godavarman, forest matter, etc. Once I went to the Scots Hospital to visit a friend of mine who was admitted for open heart surgery. Dr. Trehan, that cardiac surgeon, he took me round and then he took me to his office and started talking about the polluted environment in Delhi. I still remember he was wearing a steel grey bush shirt. He caught hold of the sleeve of his bush shirt and he said, "Sir, if I open the chest of a 25 or 30-year-old young man who was born and who's been living in Delhi, his lungs are this color. But if I open the chest of a 75-year-old man coming from a village, they are pink." That is the condition. The statistics showed that a child born in Delhi and of the age of 5 years, within those 5 years, you see, he was exposed to that much smoke which a smoker smoking 1 pack of cigarettes every day would be there. Now that is what brought in this part of the judicial activism. But how did it happen? There were, you see, aware citizens who brought the matter to the court. So let us explore these areas also, and let this not be merely cynicism within conference halls or air-conditioned chambers where we talk about it and forget it the moment we go out. I think all this must be translated into action. And therefore, of course, keep egging on the authorities, breathe down their neck, but also move forward. I think that is one thing. There are so many things I can keep talking, keep talking endlessly, but I think so. I think I better stop now. Thank you very much.
Some question answers, but just about 15 minutes.
I'm Cyril Fernandez from Human Rights Monitoring Society. I welcome you on behalf of all Goans to Goa. And I would only like to brush up your memory on a subject which was mentioned twice by two speakers earlier. That was the meta strips agitation that took place during the year 1999-2000. There was a small miscarriage that happened when I had put up a petition to NHRC. And there was an order which came which was misused by the then company to gain clearances from the Supreme Court and the Goa government. However, under your chairmanship, when I moved a petition to reread the whole order, I was in Delhi that time also monitoring my application, which was moved through our organization and Goa Foundation, that you called your members that night and gave the clarification that that order did not mean any clearance from NHRC. You said that night with your members, 3-4 members you called, and that made a lot of impact to Goa at that time particularly. So I just wanted to tell you that was your contribution.
You see,
yes, sir,
each one of us has to start with, that's what Gandhiji said, be the change which you want to see in this world. So, let's...
Yes, sir, in colleges, we from the NSS activity, we create human right awareness.
All right, I'll give you an example of what you as, because students are the most potent force, and you are the biggest stakeholders also, because you have to be here much longer than what we expect to be around. Now, I'll tell you, take the case of under trials. I don't know what's the figure now, but it used to be about 75% of the prison population was of under trials. Now, you see, so many of them were, for so many years, the trial had not commenced, and one didn't know what to do.
Why does the police behave, the Goa police in specific, behave the way they do against anti-mining activists? Okay. Why? And the second question is, Bali incident में पुलिस ने जो किया था नहीं किया था, that has never come on record, sir. I think the only statement which came out from the police was the tribals were drunk or something like that.
If you go through the whole thing, how did it happen there? There was an application from the UTA to the SDM Kwempe that they would like to have a meeting at a hall called Others Hall there to let the brothers from scheduled tribe know what are their constitutional rights. That was the application given to them to seek permission from them for loudspeaker or mic, whatever you can say. But if you see what has happened there, I don't know if you were present there or not. I was not physically present there. I saw something later on, and that was brought out by channel 365 and Prudent. I think I've seen some video clippings. The first thing that comes to your notice is indefinite agitation. Initially, it is only a meeting where you are going to tell the constitutional rights of the people to them. Then from there, what happens? They move, they go to railway tracks, they go to road, and whatever they want to do, they do. They cut the trees, they remove the fish plates, and lots of things. I think you might have seen, there's no need for me to go. Now there's a judicial inquiry order. I think that will go into it and find out what exactly happened. There was tacit approval, I'll say, of the administration that they'll have a token protest for about an hour. Thereafter, they disperse. The Honorable Chief Minister had already sent Tribal Affairs Minister plus high-powered secretaries and whatnot, 5 or 6 of them, Chief Secretary, Finance Secretary, then Tribal Secretary, all these people had been there, and they had a meeting there at the police station. And the representatives of the UTA, they were also present there. They accepted most of the demands, whatever has been projected. I think a charter of 12 demands or something like that. Most of them, whatever was within the rights or within the confine of the state, they had been accepted and told to them in the police station. The rest of it, when the government has said that they don't have authority for that, they have to take up the matter of the government of India. They are already sent something in the past. They said we'll go, we have another delegation, go to government of India and request for other things. 12% reservation in assembly and what, all those things. And when our brother Prakash Belli goes there, he announces what has been accepted by the government. They are clapping of hands. People say yes, yes, yes. And ultimately, there is one person who says no, will not go from here till 6 p.m. Everything is told to them. When most of it has been already accepted, the government told you have accepted or leaders have accepted it. The thing was that once you accepted all those things, you could have peacefully dispersed from there. And then somebody instigated them. I'll not name the people here because that is, inquiry is going to be held in that.
Right.
So there is no point talking about that. You see, when the leadership doesn't have a control of the crowd, what happens? This is what happens. You see, can you imagine? I'm telling you, had I been present there, I would have ordered firing rather than people going for order and whatnot. There had been 17 vehicles burned. About 20 of people there, policemen, others, including SP, DYSP, others injured, taken to hospital from there. One was there in ICU for about 10 days. And I don't think that it was a peaceful agitation by our brothers there.
I think.
And thereafter,
I think since the inquiry is on, you could stop here.
that's what I'm saying, sir.
So I think I'll
No.
one sorry comment kar lunga sir.
No, it is not fair because after all, if there is a judicial inquiry, don't compel him to say more than what he has already said.
Okay.
No, sir. I think.
One more. Take about one.
Acha, आपको एक बार.
Yeah, Mr. This
Just 1 minute. He wants to. हाँ, बोलिए आप.
Other, something came to me right now when I was listening to my brother Dadu. Unfortunately, most of us, I think maybe all of us here, are not aware of what is our real purpose of life. What for we are born. And that is why this upper caste and lower caste comes. If we know why we are born here and how we can achieve that goal, the real goal, I think these things will disappear, whatever we are seeing. And these are all man-made things. The God has not created all these barriers of caste, creed, nationality. He has created only one mother earth, you can say. And human beings, there are two sexes, a male and female. So basically, if you look at ourselves, we are only brothers and sisters because he is supposed to be the Parampita. He is the grandparent or whatever you can say. He is the father of all of us. Then he has created only two sexes, a brother, a son and a daughter. They are brother and sister among themselves. And all of us standing here, including our Justice Vama, somebody is eldest or elder, somebody is younger. This is the only difference, nothing else. So until we understand the human purpose for which we are born here on earth, these things will continue. I think Brother Dadu will be suffering and we won't be able to do anything. How many of us here standing, sitting in this hall can say that we won't do it? Whatever he has gone through. Yes. No. What have you done? He said something. He said that he was working bedne. Nobody gave him house. What is the reaction? What do you say about it? You are a Goan. You are a resident of this place. You tell me how you react to it.
I'm very happy to meet you here. I just want to tell you one thing, that for a very, very, very long time, in many of my cases, both criminal and otherwise, I've had a very good rapport with the police, irrespective of other people's not so good the worst person who gives the most pestings and gives the most lathi charges and everything, I've been able to negotiate a good relationship. But there is one person you have in your Goa police who, I don't know whether everybody will agree with me here. I do not want my name to be mentioned when you take it up with him, but there is a Mr. Guard who's very disgusting. Very disgusting. I cannot tell you to what extent. In the last 2 months itself, you know, where he just called people to the police station.
I think you told him.
Okay, that is one.
And
Second.
details you can give him later. Let it
So,
not
okay,
be
okay.
matter of
Okay,
public
I just want you to take note of this because since
Yes,
I'm seeing you. Sir, he is terrible. The second thing I just want to, because we rely on the police for a lot of support and things like that. The condition in your women's police station and the children's this thing is pathetic. It's
Deplorable.
It is so pathetic, and I feel like crying to tell you, because sometimes this is not only regarding women, I cry for men also. Because sometimes they are taken inside that conference room which is there, and your policemen are sitting there with them and telling them, you'll take your wife or you won't take your wife. Otherwise, you see, as much as it is a women's issue today, it is becoming also men who are being harassed. And it's being done by your policemen, some who have a personal interest, and then the women police 2.5 who are there, they are nothing short of servants. The way they behave, and sometimes they'll go to the women and, you know, this is your okay, so this is just that, please, and we need a really good counselor in that police station.
These details you can furnish him later.
This is because it's a question of human rights, both for the woman and the man, both. Counselors very important
in
at
all
that
police stations.
Sir, I understand. I hope you give me some time to settle down in Goa. I've come to Goa after
I think
26 years.
That's a very fair offer.
Yeah.
That's a very fair.
Sir, I was here as ASP in 84, 85, and I've come at DGP now.
No, take him. I mean, it's very.
Don't exist in Goa because like untouchability, etc. So I took a whole group of students to a village called Chandel, and it was done at that time. There were no grace marks for doing this legal aid or etc. when I was teaching there. But the consequence of that is it ruffled a lot of feathers there because there are certain people who enjoy privilege. So the consequence of this is that one of the consequences was that I did not get taken up as a lecturer, though I was the only one who was qualified. I did not get taken up as a lecturer. When I took up the issue of displacement of people from their livelihoods, I was arrested and threatened with rape when in Baina. No action was taken, and I had a problem with my passport. So these are the points which arise with the human rights defense. This is not to talk about what I'm doing. I didn't raise it in my presentation. But since this issue is constantly being raised about what we are doing, I'm telling you what are the consequences for the people who are raising these issues also.
Sir,
Yeah, I think let's now just wind up this session because